Again is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Hello and a very warm welcome to our Karaka preview show for 2024. We're on the countdown to the sales starting. Book one, of course, will be kicking off on Sunday, January the 28th. We're going to be going through the catalogue and highlighting a number of horses to look out for, as well as some features on first season sires, amongst a host of other things this morning. I'm joined by two of the best in the business, Michael Gear and Andrew Birch. Great to have you both with me. Michael, it's an exciting time. We saw a great ready to run sale and the countdown's on for Karaka.
Good morning, Em. A morning to Andrew. Big hi to everybody watching around Australasia or further afield if you're going to join us at Karaka. Happy New Year as 2024, as Em said, counts down to what I think is going to be the first really Karaka million Karaka sales feeling week in a long time, guys, because obviously with COVID we didn't have many of our overseas visitors here, and last year when some of them did come we didn't have the Karaka million meeting hard up against it. Add to that, there's some good stuff coming. The reopening of Ellerslie, which is going to be a huge boost to our industry. The Entei money, which is coming through to stakes. And then the reigniting of the Asian market a couple of months ago at the Ready to Run sale, which Andrew, I believe, is going to add a lot of money in that $100,000 to $200,000 underpinning region of the sale. There's a lot of ticks and a lot of boxes heading into Karaka 2024.
Yeah, there certainly is, Michael, and obviously the success of the New Zealand bred horse in Australia has been so strong over the past 12 months. I mean, they've won 28% of the Group 1 races in Australia from 8% of representation. As you say, I think we'll get that flow through from the successful Ready to Run sale a couple of months ago, where there's going to be pinhookers with money to spend because they had a good sale. I think we'll get Hong Kong interest once again, and of course Australia. Not everyone's been able to make it across the Tasman. Last year we had arc-like weather. You know, there was such significant floods in Auckland last year that there were actually planes that couldn't get here.
So you've been on the grounds through December with some of the earlier stallion tours. We haven't started a lot of the parades by the time you're on the ground there. But did you get the vibe that there is this reigniting of the big machine and people having seen the prowesses and the legatos want to be coming back to Karaka? Did you get that feel at that level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the quality from what I've seen thus far is very, very high once again. And I think when you consider that there were 20 individual Group 1 winners in Australia that were New Zealand bred last season alone, that's going to take the sale a fair way.
Emily, you and I went to the reopening of Ellerslie about a month ago, not the official reopening, which of course is coming up this weekend, but it just seems to have, I know, started a momentum that we've been missing for the last couple of years. You can feel it among the horse people I talk to. Obviously, you're married to one of our top jockeys. That Ellerslie thing has to be good for Karaka.
Has to be good for everybody, I think, worldwide, and so exciting to see everybody getting back to the track, and of course looking forward to the sale. Let's get into the details, because you want to know where you can watch Karaka 2024 and when it's all going to be kicking off. Book one, Sunday, January the 28th, and that goes through till Tuesday, January the 30th, and selling starts at 10 a.m. with 682 lots. How are you going to watch it? Well, book one will be screened on Trackside Premier, Channel 64, Freeview Channel 200, 100, and of course online, nzb.co.nz, NZB on Facebook. We'll give you those details again at the end of the show. Well, let's crack into one of our feature pieces, and a star lot in the catalogue is of course lot 21. Pricier out of the mare Donna Marie makes this filly a full sister to Prowess. Let's find out more.
Well, Mark, one of the early highlights of the sale, the sister to Prowess. She looks maybe a touch sharper and a bit earlier.
Yeah, it's a fair comment, Mick. She's a bit longer hip, the bigger forearms, the bigger, heavier shoulder. Looks a little bit sharper. Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Some people don't like being early in a sale. She's lot 21. Do you think the buyers looking for a good filly will still find a horse like her?
Oh, absolutely. They'll find them at 3 in the morning if they're good enough. I really believe that. Don't get me wrong, it would be nice to be parked in day 2, just like we see at these sales. Day 2 seems to get a bit better, or second half of day 1, but if they're good enough, mate, they find them anywhere. Look at lot 1 at the Breeze Up sale, made 400. If they're good enough, they're there for them.
Prowess, sadly, recently retired, but she did her job, both winning a 2-year-old race by 9 lengths and winning Group 1s in both countries at 3. The way the modern breeding game is going, Mark, is that enough? Does that mean more than 4- and 5-year-old form?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And around that mile and under, which she did in the Karaka Mile, and her Group 2 wins over the mile, that's what commercially people want, a mile and under, you know.
There'll be people watching this on the preview show thinking, well, I can't afford a sister to Prowess, but you've got another sister at home, so I take it you're taking her to Karaka to sell her if it's a fair price.
Absolutely, mate. Look, we're not going to give her away, obviously, but we've got bills to pay. And we were very fortunate this year, for the mare gave us another lovely filly, so we were hoping for that, which was going to give us more ammo to get this, you know, we want to retain a filly, obviously. And now we've got a second filly, so... But no, this filly's for sale. Bills to pay, mate.
Tell us about Hallmark's draft, yours and other people's, for Karaka 2024.
It's a lovely cross-section of horses, mate. Every stud master might say it, but there's something there for everyone. We've got horses that look quick, like Karaka Million horses, might be out early before Christmas. Other horses there will need a bit of time. Nice classic staying sort of horses, and their pages reflect that. So, and by a nice cross-section of size, some nice first season size, the exciting horses, the Hello Yum Zanes, and we've got Sababills. It's just a nice even draft. Only got 20 this year, so looking forward to getting it there.
You've done this in good years. You've had poor years too, like anybody who takes horses to the sales. Things move very fast in the sales industry. What's your take on Karaka 2024 and how things are moving at the moment, and what sort of interest we can expect late in January?
Well, look, our feet are on the ground. There's no doubt, you know, interest rates, people are travelling now, we know all that. It's always in the back of your mind, and you never get too excited. You don't want to go the early crow, but there's lots to be positive about too. I mean, what's happened with Entain, there's so much happening here in New Zealand. Prize money keeps going through the roof in Australia. Our horses just box way above their weight in Hong Kong and Australia. There's plenty to be positive about. If you've got a nice enough horse, you'll be fine.
Oh, great stuff from Mark Baker there, and sort of hits the nail on the head with his assessment of the overall market. But for them, I think it was so special to see Prowess step out and do what she did, and great that they've got a full sister in the sale this year, Andrew.
Yeah, that's right, Em, and obviously quite a different type of filly to Prowess. Perhaps a bit more short coupled and not as stretchy and scopy as what Prowess was, but a beautiful filly nonetheless, with huge residual value, you know, so there's going to be all those stud farms looking and thinking this could be a future broodmare. Yeah,
initially when it came up as lot 21, because how they do the catalogues is the mare's in alphabetical order, then they bump it about 5 letters every year and keep spinning them round, so you have no choice where you come up. And initially you think, oh no, first hour, first day. But one thing I've learned, and we saw with the Ready to Run sale back in November, the first lot went for 400. And people will find good horses. Now, yes, it will be an hour into the day after Karaka Million the night before, but she'll be found. And it's a really interesting start to the sale. There's some really cool lots in the first couple of hours. So I think having the Karaka Million back on the Saturday night is a huge boost, because a lot of trainers last year, as Andrew mentioned at the top of the show, either couldn't get in because of the rain, or they were turning up day one-ish and doing their inspections. I think, because it's not a huge race day in Australia on the Saturday, we'll see more people coming on the Friday. They'll do some inspections, they'll get there. I think we'll have a good start to the sale, because there'll be more people there and ready to go. And I do think that Ellerslie component will be part of that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Well, Phil Cortado is one of the most well-respected bloodstock agents in the industry, and we got him out at Cambridge Stud to pick his brain about what he looks for in his future horses.
Everybody wanna walk like me, wanna talk like me, but it's chalk and cheese, y'all. Everybody wanna be like me, wanna see like me, but this don't.
Phil, it's awesome to be here at Cambridge Stud today, and very kindly they are parading a filly for us, and I'm super keen to get your thoughts on the horse, what you look for, your negatives, positives. Should we crack into it?
Yeah, sure.
What do you make of this lovely filly parading in front of us?
To me, she looks medium size, Emily. Pretty well conformed filly. For me, when you're looking at yearlings, obviously all they're doing is walking, turning and standing, so you only get to see them in really those three positions and movement, I guess. But really, smoothness of movement is really important. You know, you want a horse to have a smooth walk, and hopefully that transitions into a smooth stride. You like them to have a good overreach, which is when they plant their front foot, the back foot comes over the top of it, and it's ideal if the back foot sort of oversteps the front foot. That's why it's called the overstep. Again, that's a sign of good movement and length of stride. Probably the most important aspect of conformation for me is knees. Okay. Knees sort of absorb most of the concussion when the horse is galloping, and if a horse develops knee problems, it's probably the hardest thing to fix. So I like to see a horse that when it walks towards you, that the knee sort of dissects the top of the forearm and the cannon bone, so everything's in a straight line, and that the legs track straight is very important. Just getting back to movement, when they move, I like the horse to have like an extended action with its front leg, sort of pointing its toe, if you like. And yeah, smoothness of action, as I say, is really important.
The filly we're looking at today is so relaxed, she's so laid back. How much of it is temperament as well?
Really important. I mean, if a horse is good enough to be a carnival horse or a group horse, they have to travel, obviously. And you know, to be able to travel and handle the pressures of racing, they really need to have a good temperament. There's a good old saying that this horse has got a good horse's temperament, which basically means that, you know, that they can handle stable life and the pressures that they're under on race day, I guess.
What are the big ticks for you? What are the standout things that you really base your judgment on?
Well, again, movement is the main one, but as far as body shape goes, you like them to have good length of shoulder. Shoulder is obviously where the heart and the lungs are, so the bigger their heart and the bigger their lungs, you hardly see a good horse with a shallow girth, put it that way. Yeah. And yeah, shoulder angle is really important as well. If a horse has got a straight shoulder, it's more than likely going to have a short stride. If it's got a good angle to its shoulder, it therefore should be able to throw that front leg out on a better angle and produce a longer stride.
We've looked at the filly parading. We might get her to stand up, sure, and then we can get up close and you can show me what you're looking at.
Yep, by all means. Yeah, so this filly, she's medium size, I guess. She's got a lovely head and eye on her. Very good body weight, as you can tell, she's in great order. Lovely forearm. A lot of good judges, they like to see a good strong forearm like this filly's got. One of the best judges in the business, Paul Moroney, that's his go-to is the forearm. Okay. She's got a lovely strong neck on her, really nice girth, good angle to her shoulder. Normally when they've got a good forearm, they've normally got good gaskins as well, which is this part of the leg here. But to me, she looks like a miler type filly. I'd imagine you can see that she's growing now. She's bum high, that she's going to end up close to 16 hands high.
Yep.
Being out of a Tavistock mare, I can see quite a bit of Tavistock in her.
I was going to ask that about pedigree. How much weight do you put on that? Do you look at pedigree much, or is it more on the physical specimen?
For me, it's type over pedigree every time. Like normally, if they've got type and pedigree, they're really expensive.
Yeah.
And I like to sort of buy on the low and sell on the high if possible, rather than the other way around. But no, certainly type for me. But yeah, no, she's a lovely, well-balanced filly, and she looks fast. That's the most important thing. Everyone wants the fast ones.
It's all systems go when it comes to Karaka 2024. What's the build-up look like for you? When do you start all your work?
I get to see a few on the farms throughout the year, but really it's in sort of early January that I go with mainly New Zealand bloodstock, their crew, and we do all the farm visits leading into Karaka. That's normally about 2 weeks before the sale starts, so you get to see them close to the time. And obviously you start with a big list and you're culling, or some horses are out of your price bracket obviously, and by the time you get to Karaka, if you've seen most of them, then you've got a second list or a condensed list.
Yeah. And what does the whole year look like for you? Is it sales all around the world, or what's the setup for you?
Obviously I do all the New Zealand sales, and I go to Sydney Easter every year, and I like the July sale, Gold Coast sale, which is sort of June, July. The classic sale and Melbourne sale are in February and early March, which is sort of like my busiest month. My specialty is more trial horses and race horses, and February just doesn't work. And to do those sales, you really need to be away for the entire month. So logistically, it just doesn't work. You've
had a number of incredible successes in the horses that you've purchased that have gone on to achieve some remarkable things. Is there a highlight out of those horses that you've purchased and watched race?
Certainly one of the highlights was when Mr. Brightside beat I'm Thunderstruck in the Doncaster. I was lucky enough to be there that day, and to buy those two horses was a huge thrill as they were coming down the straight for sure. I bought Mr. Brightside as a yearling, and I'm Thunderstruck had one trial in New Zealand before he was purchased by OTI. What makes New Zealand horses so good? A few things, I guess. Obviously, our pasture and our land. New Zealand is fantastic for growing horses out. It's acknowledged worldwide. Certainly our people. We have great horse people here, and quite often it's generations of great horsemen, and yeah, I'd say they're our two best attributes.
Big thank you to Phil Cataldo for his time, and also a special mention to the team at Cambridge Stud who paraded that beautiful filly for us. If you liked the look of her, she's lot 468, too darn hot out of Tabby Spirit, and I can confirm great temperament because she had to do a lot of walking up and down whilst we were filming that, but so insightful, picking Phil's brain about what he looks for in horses, and 38 Group 1 winners he's purchased. It's an incredible record, isn't it?
It really is, and Phil's a master. As he referenced, he buys a lot of tried horses, horses like I'm Thunderstruck, horses like Sierra Sue, but he's a very versatile bloodstock agent too. He purchased Ginger Nuts as a foal, he purchased Mr. Brightside, Quick Thinker as a yearling, and even Vinda Dance as a ready-to-run horse. So, you know, exceptional record across a really broad spectrum.
If you ever want to feel stupid, go to the sales with somebody like Phil or sit next to Paul Moroney, and their knowledge of the subject is so implicit. And I'm not just talking about them. Obviously, you know, Guy Mulcaster is a Kiwi. There's so many of them. You know, Bryce Tankard, the list just goes on and on and on. And unlike a person who might go to the sales like I do for 5 or 6 days, they'll buy into this way back in winter, and they'll look at the horses, then go through all the parades, so they can see how they adjust and how they change and how quickly, by the time they get to late January, they're different than they were in November. The knowledge is so implicit, and the New Zealand agents have a really good record. People like dealing with them, and they're a huge asset because we're not based in Australia, and so many of those Australian buyers or the Hong Kong buyers need to have at least somebody on the ground here. I've found their knowledge not only incredible to tap into, but I find them, Andrew, very good about things. If I'm on a horse and I go up to Guy Mulcaster, I'll say, are you guys on this? And he'll say no. I say, well, can I please get your opinion of it? It's amazing how many of them will give you their opinions if they're not competing against you. And just the detail of knowledge, Andrew, it's quite scary.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Again, so many of these people have started from the ground up in New Zealand. You know, you look at Guy Mulcaster and he's worked at stud farms. He's worked for the auction house New Zealand Bloodstock. You know, he had a great history in the industry before he's gone on to do what he's done as a bloodstock agent, predominantly buying for Chris Waller. So they're extremely experienced and well-credentialed, these bloodstock agents.
Just on that, New Zealand Bloodstock also have their own people on the ground. So if you're in a situation where you're watching the show and you like a horse, but you think, I don't really know anybody who can check that out for me, NZB, headed up by Kane Jones, you can ring them and say, can you give me an opinion on this? Just one other thing too, we're talking about horses today. Obviously, vetting is a big part of the sales. We haven't x-rayed these horses, we haven't scoped these horses, so there's more detail that goes into purchasing these horses in some of the top lots, but we're talking more generically about the sales, so that's why we're not pointing at too many individual horses, because a lot more goes into buying horses than just liking the look of them, although for some people, that's enough.
Well, let's get you off to a break, and on the back of that, we head down south to Inglewood Stud, and we also touch on our first season size.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Welcome back into our Weigh-In Karaka special, and as promised, it's now time to take you down south to Inglewood Stud.
Gus, there's a lot of history behind Inglewood Stud, and I really need to get you to educate me as to how this came to be.
Well, it started with my great-grandfather in 1938. He was an auctioneer that came over from Australia, and he was he sold Farlap and Gloaming as an auctioneer. He founded the New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders Association, and he was actually inducted into the New Zealand Racing Hall of Fame this year, which was really a great night. So he started it and bred some great horses from here. He's the leading breeder in New Zealand at the time, and bred VRC Derby winners and AJC Derby winners and Doncaster winners, and so there's a proud history of breeding good horses from the farm. You know, all the oak trees and things you see, he planted those, so hawthorn hedges around the farm, so it's a beautiful property. It was actually sold outside of the family. He died of a heart attack on the stable lawn in 1960, and it was sold outside the family for 10 years. And my father was in 1972 working over in England in a trainer's stable, got a call from his old man and said Inglewood Stud's back on the market. So he came back and bought that with the stallion Tiber, who was a bit of a handful at the time. But his first stallion that he bought was Beaufort Sea, who was a great stallion for the family and put the food on the table for us when I was a kid.
Left quite a good filly, I think, from them.
Canterbury Belle was the best he left, and Mum and Dad raced her. She won the 1,000 guineas here, and then won the Stradbroke as a 3-year-old. So she was a pretty amazing filly. They sort of wound down through the 90s, and I think Nick stood his last stallion in sort of the late 90s and concentrated on the broodmare band. Gradually sort of wound that down until about 2011. I'm the youngest son, and I was working in the racing industry, but decided I wanted to get hands-on again, and my wife and I moved down in 2011 and ramped things back up. But the history of the farm was one of the big things that drew us back here in the family association, and so we bought Zakinto in 2012, and he was a great kickstart for us.
What about lot 244 in this year's sale? The Purin Canto colt out of Monrecur is going to really attract some interest.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him. He's a lovely moving horse. The family develops a lot during the prep. There's still 6 weeks until he goes through the ring, and I think we'll have him spot on by the time he gets there. He's a lovely moving horse, and I think he's by the right sire. He's got some nice Hong Kong form in the page, and I think he'll have plenty of attention when he gets to Karaka.
Bit of interest around ready to run time. 800,000 went for this one's half brother.
Yeah, like we've sold plenty of yearlings that have been turned over at the ready to run sale. some for good money and some just scraping through, and that was one that I got left with a bit of egg on my face, but that happens, and Eon Kemp that turned him over is a great guy, and yeah, we were pleased at the time with the money we got, and Eon did a super job selling him for 800 and found the right market at the right time, and the horse obviously went on, and Harry Angel left his first Group 1 winner, so everything sort of all the stars aligned for Eon, so we were wrapped for him.
And you love the Spirit of Boom colt, closely related to Hugo for Scholar.
Yeah, he's just a big beast, and he's a first foal, and mum's a big girl, and he's just got a lot of quality about him as well, and size and strength and just power, I suppose, is the word that describes him. So I think he's probably the best value stallion in Australia, Spirit of Boom. So that was the first mare that we sent to him, and we've got another lovely filly, a foal this year by him. So he's certainly a horse we see plenty of value in anyway.
And you've got the done deal as well. This one out of the half to Velocious. So this is
yeah, and Parmala's been a great mare for us.
Hasn't
and,
she?
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's had 3 of the races, and all 3 have earned some black type, and one is 2-year-olds, and she's the most expensive mare that we've bought. And you know, for her to do the job for us, we went across to try and put a bit of speed into the broodmare band and a bit of precocity, and she's done that. So yeah.
You're excited about sale week, aren't you?
Well, that's our big week of the year. It's a game day. I always say to the team on when the sales kick off, it's game day today, and you know, a lot of work goes into getting the horses there, and a lot of planning. And so yeah, it's exciting to be able to take the horses up there and show them off after a couple of years of getting to that point.
It is game day, isn't it? It's the Derby or the Cox Plate or the Caulfield Cup for these breeders, and they look like they've done a really good job with the draft. There's lots of variety in the draft this year.
Yeah, certainly. They are a farm that continues to invest in broodmares. Not only will they send horses across the Tasman to be mated, but they'll also purchase mares in foal and bring them back. And obviously Gus and Bianca do a wonderful job there, and they've had a couple of early precocious types already popping up this spring. In Velocious, who's going to be hopefully one of the major players in the 2-year-old ranks this season, has already won a listed race, so can certainly breed a good horse.
When you consider, you know, it's easy to think that the breeding industry is Matamata and Cambridge, and they're an awfully long way from there, but you know, they've been involved in this for such a long time, and the level of investment is enormous. They sent 15 mares to Australia. Getting 15 mares to Australia and bringing them back again, minimum would be $150,000 more. Then you've got to pay the service fees, and you're not sending them to Australia to go to $10,000 stallions. They go into, you know, the written tycoons and serious horses. So it's a massive level of investment, and we have that right around the country. But they're current at the moment. Velocious, as you mentioned, you know, one of the favourites for the Karaka Million, the $800,000 ready-to-run horse out of Monrecure. You can buy halves to those horses at this sale. So really impressive setup, and it sort of reminds you a little bit of how lucky we are to have these really skilled generational people, Andrew, right across the country. Even someone like White Robe Lodge bringing in a new stallion, an Ancient Spirit. Like, you sometimes forget that there have been people who have been doing this for generations right across New Zealand, and they all converge at Karaka.
Yeah, exactly right. And Gus is obviously 3rd generation. Even his cousin Annabelle over at Beaufort Downs is doing a terrific job. So great to see the Wigley family, this next generation, really having a crack.
And they've got a stallion down there, and War Decree, who's probably been one of the big movers in the last 12 months in New Zealand. We didn't know him very well. He was a very good horse for Aidan O'Brien, and now he's leaving proper racehorses who are turning up and doing the job. And he's got a couple of semi-derby-ish types floating around. So, yeah, very exciting time for them.
Yeah, I love the win of Warmonger. I think that was during Cup Week. Really exciting horse. Can't wait to see that stepping out in the future. What about our first season sires? We've got a number of New Zealand-based first season sires. Ancient Spirit, one that Michael mentioned, the progeny of Invincible Spirit of White Robe Lodge, half-brother to a Group 1 winner from the same family as Almandin, champion 3-year-old miler in Germany and Italy. Circus Maximus, another.
Yeah, Circus Circus Maximus, he's a triple Group 1 winning miler. He's by Galileo, he's out of a Danehill Dancer mare, and I've seen a number of Circus Maximus's progeny that really good frames on them, going to make lovely 3-year-olds.
King of Comedy is the son of Kingman, and there's actually a Kingman in the sales for Pincaro, who will get a lot of attention. But good-looking, big, long-striding horse, King of Comedy. Again, we're seeing a lot of European blood coming into the country, and then you've got New Zealand blood in a horse like Banquo, who's gone to Waikato Stud, and as we've seen with Waikato Stud, they can take horses on a very low service fee, like Embellish, and turn them into commercial stallions very, very quickly. So there are some of them, but you popped down to have a look at one of them who won at Ascot. Hello Youmzane winning in the Cambridge Stud colours at Ascot. One of the underrated but great moments of New Zealand breeding in the last decade.
Yeah, let's hear what Mark Devisic had to say about the first season sire, Hello Youmzane. Mark, an exciting time of year. Hello Youmzane's first progeny heading to Karaka. Just remind us a little bit about Hello Youmzane and his profile.
Well, obviously he was a champion sprinter in Europe. He won 2 Group 1s, so he's got extremely good profile. He's by a stallion, Kodiak, which obviously he's been a very successful sire in Europe. I think there was a season there he produced about just close to 60 two-year-old winners, which was pretty impressive.
Tell us about his progeny. What is he throwing, and how do they look physically?
He's throwing a lot of attributes into them, obviously with the great moving types. They just walk well, they're well muscled, very forward types, and what we've found in the prep too, they just seem to be progressing all the time, and just they just keep improving, which it's a good sign heading towards a Karaka sale, and I think everyone's going to be pretty happy with what they see.
He was a sprinter himself. Are his progeny looking in that sprinter form?
Oh, I think they are. They're very mature types. I think you're going to get 2 types. You're going to get a very precocious 2-year-old type, and also I think you're going to get 3-year-olds that are going to get up to a mile and maybe beyond. There's obviously in his dam side, there's a bit of stoutness there too, obviously with saddler's wells, and I think you're going to find that there's going to be 2 types of racehorses you're going to get by Hello Youmzane, which I think that's a great attribute to have.
How many have we got in the draft this year?
Well, for us, we've got 16, so we're well represented with him. So, and we've got some lovely horses by him, and and overall, I think he's got over 40 represented in the at the Karaka.
If you had to pick one out as a highlight Hello Youmzane lot, what do you like?
I really like the filly out of River Mist. She's a Pero mare. She's just got so much quality about her. She's sharp looking. She's got a lot of presence about her. Well balanced filly. Also, we've got a lovely colt out of a mare called Steer by the Stars. She's a pivotal mare, and he stands over a bit of ground, good scope to him, well muscled. And then our other one, we've got another lovely colt. He's more of a classic type, as I said before. That's what he could possibly throw too, out of a Zabeel mare, who's already proven herself.
Tell me about the draft as a whole. How many have you got in this year, and what are you excited about?
We've got around 40 heading towards Karaka. I think we've got a great mix of sire representation there. This includes obviously our Manzor, our proven stallions such as our Manzor. We have Lonro, horses by Street Boss, and so there's a bit of depth with our and obviously Savabeel, who's our champion sire in New Zealand, and young stallions such as Embellish. He's doing a great job for us here at Cambridge Stud, and then obviously we've got a lovely filly by Too Darn Hot, he started very well and seems very favourable at the stage, and so we know things look well, and obviously this is backed up with our first crop of Hello Youmzanes, which we're looking forward to selling.
And all the hard work going on there at Cambridge Stud behind the scenes. And Hello Youmzane, he adds a different profile to first season sires based in New Zealand. And sort of good to remind yourself of his record, because he has such a great resume. Yeah,
of course, he was a multiple Group 1 winner out of Europe, a sprinter. And one of the interesting things is he's really leaving good moving types. Typically with sprinters, you get those muscle-bound, stockier types. But Hello Youmzane, I think all the comments around the farms thus far have been how well these yearlings have moved by Hello Yumzane.
Well, and he's just one of them, isn't he? Because the stallion power is so deep this year. To be honest, we got to a stage about 5 years ago where we had a little lull in our stallion ranks because, for example, Cambridge lost a couple of stallions. And it got to the stage where you went to the sales, and you would have felt this, it was like, wow, these 20 Savabeel colts will sell well, but I'm not sure what else will. And that gap has been enormously filled. Not only has he come in and Almanzor, but Rich Hill has kicked enormous goals with horses like Prasia, who was part of our stallion ranks there, but he wasn't as commercial. Either was Pur and Canto. We didn't know or love them as much as we do now. And then Sotono Aladdin's come through.
Ace High, of course,
exactly.
The Guineas.
All that depth is there now. And to be honest, as a buyer, when somebody says to you at the sales, do you want to go look at lot such and such? The first thing you say is, what's it by? That's what everybody says. And there was probably 5 years ago a little bit of a lull because we had lost the Tavistocks and some of those horses where you thought, do I really want one of those? There's 20, 25 stallions in this country. If someone said, do you want to look at an Ace High? You go, yeah, sure. I know you can leave a Group 1 winner. And you can really feel that through the whole book when you flick through it. There's not many pages where you go, well, I don't really want one of those. Everybody has their personal preference, but Andrew, it's a depth I don't think we've had the equal of over the last 20 years with commercial ability or commercial stallions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's 682 yearlings catalogued in Book 1, and I think a lot of that, the reason for the uplift in volume is because of the way in which the stallions are performing. There's a much broader base of stallions there. As you say, there's going to be the Savabeels, and we're lucky he's 22 years of age, and there's 57 Savabeels in Book 1. There's 51 Pur and Cantos, there's 35 Praesias, and people can get their fix of Sotono Aladdins, who obviously he missed a year being a Japanese shuttle stallion, so they're back at Karaka this year.
But also in appealing to different markets. I mean, Pur and Cantos are going to sell into Hong Kong. We know that. Sotono Aladdins are people going to go, wow, I want a Guineas horse, or I want a Derby or an Oaks horse. And then Prasia has had consistent Group 1 performers and winners in Australia. So all those markets come into play, and when they compete against each other, that's where you get underbidders pushing prices up, which is good for everybody. So yeah, the stallion power this year, really commercial and something for everybody, I believe.
Yeah, and the standout thing is just how well the New Zealand bred is performing internationally. It's great to see. We're going to get you to a break, and on the back of that, we meet someone from behind the scenes working hands-on with the horses.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Well, it's now time to meet someone who's working at the coalface of the industry with 30 years of history behind her. We catch up with Charlotte Hook from Hallmark Stud.
Well, Charlotte, you've been leading horses for 25 years. When you're leading a horse, what are you trying to achieve with them before the yearling sales?
Probably just trying to get them to relax and get the best out of them you possibly can. You know, a good walk is always, it looks very good, and people like that. So I'm just trying to get them to relax, get them to use themselves a little bit better, and you don't inhibit that swing, that their natural swing that they've got.
What are the buyers looking for when you're walking alongside them? You see them go side on, they go front on. What are they trying to see?
Well, obviously confirmation, how they use themselves. If they are relaxed in the way that they walk, obviously it'll help you help them as a racehorse going into a stable. Just their general demeanour, really. Yeah.
What's easier, fillies or colts?
Colts.
Colts are easier.
Yeah.
Why?
A well-handled colt is always such a joy to be able to lead and parade. Yeah, no, definitely love the colt. Much better.
What about the tricks of the trade? Say you've got one who's a little bit iffy, or it's been a long day and they're getting sick of being taken out of the box. What do you do? What do you do to make them feel happier or get them up and about?
Probably in my head I have little songs and things that we sing or hum, so I have been caught out a few times and stuff.
Can you give us an example?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But I think it's just, like, I love that challenge. Like, it's my own personal challenge to get them to relax as much as they possibly can. and get the best out of them. Yeah.
Does it help that you're not that tall, Charlotte? Because some people like their horses looking a bit bigger next to one person who maybe didn't have a basketball career.
Yeah, definitely was never going to have that. No, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, with those bigger colts, they think that because you're a bit shorter, they like to try and, you know, get on top of you a little bit. But I think when you handle them so far out, they're almost like racehorses by the time they get up there. So it's pretty easy. You spend a lot of time with them.
Do you know sometimes when you're leading what's just a baby, whether they've got the X factor, whether they're going to make it? When you, for example, led Prow West, did you think to yourself, this one's got a bit of something?
Gosh, we'd all love to know what that secret is, but I mean, obviously there are some horses that just are class and they do enjoy that environment a lot more. She was definitely one of those that thrive on that sort of environment, and she was always just a very loose, relaxed filly. So, you know, I think it just comes down to just being able to get them to flow and do their thing.
Talking about secrets of the trade, I hear a rumour that you love your job so much you may well have a little tattoo of a horseshoe with an H in it for Hallmark Star. I take it's for Hallmark Star.
Yeah.
Are you that dedicated to the horses?
Yeah, I do. I love them very much. So, and yes, I definitely do have the Hallmark brand. And so, I mean, I've been here long enough. Like, I came here when I was 14, so it's probably part of the furniture around here.
Can I ask you one more time? Can you give us a little hum or maybe sing that song just for the horses?
I don't know. Every horse is different, so they all have a different one.
They have a different song.
Yeah, exactly. They've all got different personalities, so you've just got to change it up a little bit.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome stuff. And if you're looking for, Mike asked some difficult questions. Poor Charlotte, put on the spot to singing. If you're looking for the definition of hardworking, passionate, the coalface of the industry, it's Charlotte, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Charlotte is the type of person that serious buyers go and ask her what she thinks of the yearlings too, just to pick up on any traits, behavioural tendencies they may have, because she is a person that obviously the buyers have got to know over a long period of time. I also note that she's, generally when you see a yearling paraded, if you don't notice the handler, they're probably doing a pretty good job, and Charlotte is very good at keeping in sync and under the radar.
There's a lot of wonderful handlers, and it's an incredibly difficult job. A lot of them travel from sale to sale, and they are incredibly dedicated. I think getting a tattoo of Hallmark Stud or anywhere on your back.
Can you get like a weigh-in Karaka special tattoo, Michael?
A
Is
New
that
Zealand
something
Herald
you
tattoo?
could
No,
consider?
that won't be happening. But yes, and it's an interesting question because Charlotte's not very tall. And yes, sometimes it helps. It makes the yearlings look bigger. I know that sounds ridiculous, but trust me, there are people who would say, no, that guy's too tall for this horse. So it definitely helps. But there's so many kind, generous, skilled people who we don't see the names of. So hence it was nice to meet Charlotte and talk to her when we were at Hallmark doing that Pro West piece.
Yeah, and it's so many people behind the scenes that make the wheels go round for these big sale occasions. Well, we talked about international buyers and Australian buyers. Mick Price is a person who really supports the New Zealand industry, and he gave us his thoughts on what makes the New Zealand bred so good.
The New Zealand horse is tough, race every time you're wanting to go to the races, rinse and repeat, and just a wonderful athlete.
Well, you know what, for a country that has a 2,700 foal crop, it's unbelievable the standard of galloper that goes into the big races in Australia as 3, 4, 5 and as they mature, which is why I keep coming back. I'm a trainer, you know what I mean? I need to see a good clean action on horses, and you know, I think this country grows good quality bone and synovial fluid, cartilage. You know, you grow good things here. You grow big fat strawberries like apples, you know what I mean? Everything here in this country is grown better.
Oh, I love that. Big fat strawberries and some very fast racehorses that have been very good to Mick Price in previous years. Looking forward to welcoming him back in a couple of weeks' time. Let's get into our vendor highlights, because we asked the vendors what lot we should go back and have a second look at, and we've got a pretty comprehensive list for you to look at home. And Andrew, we'll start with you. Is there something that sort of sticks out here for you that you are looking forward to seeing?
Look, there's plenty there, Emily. Obviously at Pincarrow Stud, they've got a very rare offering in a son of Kingman out of Marsden Cross. Kingman, of course, has had 10 individual Group 1 winners. That cross has already been successful, leaving a Grand Prix de Paris winner. So I think that's going to be uniquely sought after, but plenty of nice yearlings there mentioned on the board, including the Hello Yumzane there from Cambridge Stud. I've seen him. He's a cracking colt, really strong physical colt.
Yeah, so this was the chance for the vendors, Emily, to not just send us their most commercial horse who might top, but a horse who, if you're watching this and you're heading to Karaka, they say, come have a second look at this. And look at the stallion diversity there. You run through it from a Justify to a Sway Ness, Hello Yumzane, new stallion like Ancient Spirit, then through Purincanto, Savapil. No double ups for the stallions on that page, basically, apart from a couple of Purincantos. And we go across to the next page, and again, lots of Australian blood as well. So an I Am Invincible, a Schnitzel out of Rondinella. Alabama Express has had a barn-burning start to his stallion career. A new stallion like Farnham. There's so much diversity there that's important, because not everybody's trying to buy the same sort of horse, Andrew, so therefore you need to offer different types of horses.
Yeah, and just looking at the lot listed at the top of the screen there, the Hello Yumzane filly out of Distinctive Lass. I mean, that's a premier page that would sit well in any sales catalogue around the world, any premier sales catalogue around the world. Distinctive Lass has already left 4 individual stakes winners, including a Group 1 winner in Karma Lass. Plus, she's also left Wairau Cove, who could potentially be a stakes winner in waiting. So, keenly sought after page there.
And at the top there, an Alabama Express, because we know they're running it too. So they're the type of horses people would say, well, maybe I can buy that and try and win the Karaka Million. Same with the Schnitzel, same with an I'm Invincible. So you have those options for people who aren't just coming here to buy Guineas horses, Oaks horses and Derby horses, but there's plenty of those available too. So there's a little cross section. You can maybe pause it on your TV and revisit some of those. But again, plenty more. We haven't seen these horses. There are 1,100, 1,200 horses going through, so there is absolutely something for everyone.
Yeah, great variety when it comes to the stallions, but so much depth in the female families as well. We asked our panel who they liked, who was their highlight lot in the catalogue. I'll kick things off. I went with lot 175, which is by Almanzor out of Lady Faustina, who of course is an unraced daughter of Silent Achiever, and I was lucky enough to sort of work quite closely with Silent Achiever, racing at the same time, done deal. This is a foal by Frankel, or Lady Faustina is, so really excited to see this colt. So that was a highlight for me, having seen Silent Achiever and what she's achieved. Distinctive Lass was one for you, wasn't it, as you mentioned?
She's a class filly. I saw her at Curra more recently, moves well, and then she's got the page to match. So I think there'll be a lot of interest in a filly like that, and she comes up really early in the sale and will get it off to a really good start.
Well, remarkably, out of all those horses, you and I picked lots which follow each other.
Oh, really?
I've gone for lot 174. Kahanui purchased this Zoo Star filly last year as a weanling, obviously, for about 220 Aussie. Out of a Fastnet Rock mare, Zoo Star female horses, absolutely outstanding worldwide. I think he's going to be a majestic broodmare sire in the future, and it's from a really strong Australian family. Kahanui, Nick and Nikki White doing a great job. I think this could be the sort of lot that plays into a lot of markets, domestic markets, stallions, and those big studs will think this is a type of horse I can take home with enormous residual value. So yes, if you're heading to Karaka late on day 1, 174, 175, the little weigh-in specials.
Yeah, love it. So, well, let's just confirm that sales coverage again, and where you can find all the details related to Karaka 2024. As I mentioned, book 1 starts on Sunday, January the 28th. Selling starts at 10 a.m. That'll obviously be 8 a.m. Australian time. There's 682 lots to get through the ring. And how to watch? Well, book 1 will be screened on Trackside Premier, that's channel 64, Freeview channel 200, and you can jump online as well, nzb.co.nz, for that online bidding stream, and New Zealand Bloodstock on Facebook. So all the details available there.
Anybody, we'll get to, we'll have a half-an-hour preview show every day for the sales to talk about those yearlings, but also to talk to some of these overseas buyers and domestic buyers about what they're looking for. Also, 2 massive bonuses come into play this year at Karaka. A $200,000 bonus for the first new owners syndicate. The horse has to be half owned by new owners who finishes the furthest up the field in the Karaka Yearling the next year. And also a Book 2 bonus. Andrew, I love this. A $200,000 bonus for the best Book 2 horse in the Karaka 3-year-old race. Now, Book 2, Sharp and Smart, Legato, it's a beautiful place to go shopping without spending as much money. I love those bonuses as Entain gets behind the sales.
Yeah, look, obviously we've seen the prize money bolstered by some 23 million alone in New Zealand this season, and here's just another incentive as to why to get involved. And as you say, Michael, Book 2 has been a terrific sale. Legato, Sharp and Smart. You also go back to horses like Ocean Park and King Mufasa who came out of that sale, so a lot of quality comes out of Book 2.
Mate, I know you and your team at NZTM will be working really hard to write stories and promote the sale. Mate, thanks for all you do. Thank you for coming in for your knowledge. And I'm pretty excited. I'm excited about Karaka Yearling. I'm also pretty darn excited about what happens at 10 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah, it's all happening here in New Zealand during that weekend and the week that follows. We look forward to seeing you here on New Zealand shores, where you can buy some of the best horses in the business.
I sell at 52.5 here, at 52.5 half, 55, Kane, you're out, at 55 for a, at 55 for a, could I make it 60? Could I make it 60? 57.5, all right. I get 57.5 at 57,500. We're going to put her up. I get 57.5 for her. 57,500 buys her. She's on the market. She's got to be sold. 57.5 buys her. All done. I sell her at 57,500. Goes to David Ellis. Thank you, David. Well bought.